Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining today's Dive into Action with Now Assist for Creator Workflows. We're going to be going through some information and then a demo. Looks like quite a few people have joined so far, so we'll go ahead and get started. As always, safe harbor notice, forward-looking statements. Today's session is part of a live on ServiceNow curated event series to connect you with ServiceNow experts and peers to help you develop your products and achieve value faster. You'll be joining us at another webinar or meetup, and you can see the schedule by scanning the QR code or the link in the chat. Quick housekeeping. We'll save time at the end of the presentation for questions and answers. This will be recorded and shared out on community. And after the event, there will be a survey, so please help us out and fill that out. My name is Max Selwyn. I'm a principal technical consultant in the Creator Workflows Customer Outcomes team, and I work for ServiceNow. Today, we're going to go through what is Now Assist for Creator, what's in it for you. We're going to do a demo, and then we'll do a Q&A. First poll question, how far along are you in your Now Assist for Creator journey? Checking the results here. And so it looks like most people have not started or they're just getting their feet wet with Now Assist. So that's great. This presentation and demo will be good for you. So first we're going to go through the install and configure and monitoring usage of Now Assist, which is in the Creator Control panel. So in Now Assist, you have your control panel. This is an example of what it looks like. This is where you can manage all of your plugins. You can install the plugins directly from here, and you can also activate all the skills. The skills are what we call the features of Now Assist. Once you obtain, I'm not going to go through this in the demo. Once you get the GenAI controller installed, then you'll be able to install all of the related skills for creator, technology, employee, all the different sections of Now Assist. So after the plugins have been installed, you'll get a screen where you'll be able to select which technology you're going to use. So if you select Creator, you'll see the skills that you have available in Creator. Setup is very easy. You click View Details, activate skill, or turn on is what it says. You turn on the skill, you'll be up and running in minutes. It's really great, simple, easy to use, very intuitive. And then you can come here and see which ones are active and which LLMs they use. Most of them are using the Now LLM, which are trained on ServiceNow code. So it knows ServiceNow terminology. Some of them are using other LLMs, and we'll go through that a little bit later. Important thing to know, Now Assist for Creator, you need to have the now.assist.creator role. It is not inherited, so admins by default do not have the role. You have to give that to them. I'm not going to go through licensing. You can talk with your account team on that, but you want to assign the creator role to only the developers, excuse me, developers that are going to be using the skill. And they also have to have access to whatever section they're trying to use Now Assist in, such as Flow Designer, Delegated Developer, etc. So Now Assist for Creator, one of the top skills One of my favorite things is text to code. Text to code feature enables you to write natural language and have it automatically translated into code to use all over the platform. This capability allows developers to express their intent in plain natural language, reducing coding time and saving development time. It does have contextual awareness, so it knows what type of script you're in. So if you're in an email script versus a script include, it'll know the syntax that needs to be used in that script. Some of the places that we do recommend you use it is in Flow Action Designer, Fix Scripts, Email Scripts, Client Scripts, Script Includes, and Instance Scan. We're not currently recommending it to be used in business rules and scheduled scripts because we recommend you use flows instead of doing scripts, instead of doing business rules where necessary. Another thing to point out is text to code is not trained on your instance data. It's trained on ServiceNow data as a whole. So if you have a custom script include, it's not going to know that that exists. You can, in your prompt, which we'll go through some examples. In your prompt, you can put a placeholder and say, I want to use, my script include name, and it'll put a placeholder there. It just won't know that that's actually a real script include. Another thing that's really helpful about text to code is using API calls. So you can tell it to use a specific API and it knows the syntax and context on how to generate that API, and it'll give you all of the code right there for you to have like a template that you can start with, and then you can modify as necessary. It's a lot easier than going out to community or the developer site and then trying to find the code you want to use, copy it, put it in your instance and modify it. This will do a lot of that work for you, saving a lot of time. Code completion is another part of the skill. So code completion will suggest code as you're writing. So depending on the length of the code being generated, you might not need everything that it's suggesting. So if that occurs, you can move your cursor to the end of the code that you're writing and hit the prompt. So on MacBook, the prompt is Command Enter, and I believe on Windows it's Control Enter. So at the end of wherever your cursor is at, when you hit that prompt, it'll start either generating code from a comment or suggesting code to follow up whatever you're writing. Code completion, like I said, does have context awareness. So depending on what type of script you're in, it will know what context to use and what syntax to use. So you can see in this example on the left, we have that it's expecting a case is expecting each day of the week on the left, and on the right, you can use a slightly different prompt and it will generate different code based on what input you're giving it. The next skill is now assist for creator flow generation. So flow generation saves time by giving you a template to start a flow with instead of having to build it from scratch. So once you have this skill installed, you'll go into create a flow just like you normally would, and your default option will be this build with Now Assist. You can still go build from scratch if you want to. So what you'll do is you'll give it a name. You'll give a nice lengthy description of what you want it to do. It'll understand all of this, and then it'll generate a template of what you need, what it thinks that you want it to do. So it'll understand the trigger. So in this example, they said when they wanted it to start. It created the trigger. It understood some of the actions that it wants to do. You may or may not need to go in and update the lookup records. It might not understand which table you wanted to use. You might have to go configure some of these, but it will give you that template, and it's a nice starting point. The other skill is flow recommendation. So flow recommendation uses the current context of your flow and what it thinks are the recommended next actions that you might take. These will change based on how many actions you already have in your flow, where you're at in the flow. It'll update based on what it thinks maybe the logical next step is. These do not work with custom spokes. So if you've created a custom spoke, those actions won't be recommended at this time, at least. Okay, so now what everyone probably wants to get into is the demo. So we're going to go through some of the key features. I am going to go through application generation, code generation, flow generation, and flow recommendations. So stop this show. Okay, so this is the Now Assist control panel. You see you have an overview. It shows you your usage, which plugins are installed and not installed, which skills have been used. You also have active, you'll be able to see the usage and you can update the date range. And then when you come over here to Now Assist features, you'll be able to see all the different skills you have installed. So when I select creator, see all these skills. So I have flow generation, flow recommendation, text to code, and app generation all active. If you want to go into view details, you can see what the skill is, which service it's using, and when you installed it or last modified it. Settings here gives you available plugins. So I don't have these plugins installed. I can click these and go install them and add them to my instance. It's a little bit easier than going to the plugins list or the application manager and searching for them there. These will let you know which ones you don't have. This is an Now Assist panel. You can manage skills here. So if you want to turn off chat summary, you can turn that off right here. So everything that you want to do to control your usage and skills enabled or disabled, you can do that in the Now Assist control panel. Okay. Jump into Flow Designer. And this is a live demo, so there may be slowness or bugs. So just bear with me if something like that occurs. So jump into a flow. So now, as I said, since I have the flow generation installed, my default option is build with Now Assist. I can still go through and build from scratch like I used to. And we're going to give it some directions and we'll see what we get generated here. So now we will see what it comes up with for that prompt. So it gave me some good things. So let's see. It does give you a prompt check for accuracy. Of course, with all AI, you always want to review it. It's not a replacement for human input. You want to use it to save time and speed up things instead of using it for pure creation. So let's see. The SLA task. It did do good there. It added a placeholder for get record details. So I would have to add there. And it did come up with the send email action, and then I would have to fill in some of the details. So it did save some time, and depending on how much you put in your description, it'll generate more actions. Maybe if I would have specified a few more things, it might have pre-populated a little bit more for me. So that is flow generation. If I can go back into the existing flow that I have. So now you can see it already has a recommended what it thinks I want to do. And this will vary every single time. When you add another action, it'll update the recommendations the more you go through the flow. And then you can just click them and it adds them directly to the flow. Pretty straightforward. The next thing I want to go into is the text to code. So we go into script include. Thinks I'm in a different scope. Okay, so the first thing I want to point out once it loads. Love the live demo. Okay, so actually in Washington, it's different. It's code with Now Assist down here. In earlier versions, there would be a purple star. This little star that's right here used to be right here. I did not notice that changed. So that lets you know that you can utilize Now Assist in this script. Anywhere you see that, you'll be able to use it. Typically, anywhere in the platform that has this code editor, you'll be able to use it. So we will go through some examples. This does know JavaScript and it also knows ServiceNow specific code. So we'll go through a few different examples. So now that I've typed my prompt, I hit Command Enter. Which seems to be written differently today. Okay. Now I can see the code and I can decide whether I want to accept it or reject it. I'm going to accept it and take a look. This looks pretty good to me. You might want to modify it, but in general, it will give you a nice starting point, depending on what you're asking it for. You may or may not get exactly what you need to do. Another thing is Sometimes it may repeat different lines and add in extra. It is AI, so this is not a replacement for coding skills. You still need to know how to read code and write code, but this will save time, especially with certain syntax. Let me pull up next. Let's see. So that would not be something I would expect. So I would be like, okay, well, maybe I didn't have my prompt set up correctly. I would expect it to create a glide record or something like that. So I'd reject that. And you can always do it again. You may get different results. Or you can try to reword it. And you can type correctly too. So this looks more like what I would expect. So it depends on how you word your prompt. If you give it more detail, it has more information to work with so that it would know what it wants to look through. As always, you need to review the code and make sure that everything is actually going to be functional. Don't just trust it. You need to always review it. See if I had any other examples I wanted to go through. Yes. I'm not going to do it in a script include though. What I'm going to do here is see if it can generate a regex for me. That's a pretty good template to start with. If you want to modify this, you can. It's pretty close to something that you might want to use. And it generated everything. It knew what field to get. So it understood the ServiceNow get value. Since we're in a client script, it knew to use gform. So that's part of the context awareness, and it replaced it all with stars, which I think that's a pretty good substitution. So that saves a lot of time. I didn't have to go look up the regex syntax, and gives you pretty usable code right from the get-go. Another thing to point out is on the left, you'll see these lines. These are lines that are generated ServiceNow, Now Assist code. If you go through and modify something, so if we're going to change this field, then you see the line goes away. So this has helped tracking so that you can have reporting on how many like lines of code and how much usage is getting done with Now Assist. Okay. The next thing I want to go through is the app generation, which is up here in your Now Assist panel. And this will show you all the different skills you have access to on a given record. So wherever you're at in the system, this will be relevant. So I'm going to go through create an app. What application would I like to make? Register for an event and select their desired badge. I want that beverage. Isn't like just beverages. I like to create a record producer to allow users to register for an event through Service Catalog. Yes, that sounds good. All right, so now I have the summary. Social event registration application gives an overview, and now I can hit generate app. It's going to create two tables, two roles, and one record producer. Gives you a nice status as it's going. Oh, live demo. So hopefully it continues. Let's see if it finished or not. If the application name, social event registration. So we'll see if that's actually created or not. Not see it. It's doing something. It may or may not work. At this time, I'm not sure what happened. Um, I haven't seen this issue pop up before, but of course, on a live demo, it decides to do that to me. So that is everything I had for the demo today. Turn to the presentation. Full question, based on what you've heard today, which feature would you like more? After if the poll was generated or not, I don't see it on my end. There we go. So far, it looks like all of the above is leading, code generation following. Yeah, I think the most helpful for me in my day-to-day job, code generation, the flow generation, and application generation give you really good starting points on creating applications, saving a lot of time. The code generation especially. If you're not a developer who remembers code syntax all the time, you can look up a specific function uh, or a specific method, then code generation really helps because if you give a good description of what you want to do, then it will know all the ServiceNow different APIs